Hello, hello, hello. Happy Tuesday morning. How's everyone doing? Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Sterling, with the news in here. No, good morning from Sterling, though. Good morning, Tony. Good morning, Jacob. How is everyone doing this morning? Again, so far some lighter viewership, but if you're in the background or a bunch of people in the background, please jump in the chat and say hi. So, thank you for tuning in. The market just continues the end of December slow melt up. Nothing stopping it yet. Heinrich, good morning. I'd keep an eye though. It's getting into somewhat just no, depending on your time frame where your stops are. That's all I want to say. Very little stuff out this morning. We had building permits, housing starts. Redbook just came out at 3.6, halfway decent number there. We got Bostic speaking at 11:30 Central, and Goolsby speaking at 5 p.m. after they close, but when the futures reopen. So, other than that, tomorrow is again another quiet day, but Thursday and Friday, remember, those are the big days this week going into the Christmas a day off. So, what else do we have? Let's see. I'm just looking. Good morning, Amit. How are you doing? So far, all the mega caps are slowly melting up except for Nvidia, and the chips sort of getting hit a little today. Other than that, it's a minorly green day going to the open. You see, let me just check this again. Let's just do it this way. Basic materials, real estate, energy leading the way higher, but everything except technology is positive so far this morning. Fed Watch tool still has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rate cuts priced in. Nothing has changed with any of the Fed speak, although Mary Daly was very dovish with her stuff yesterday. Fear and greed still in extreme greed, which we start watching at least at some point for a topping pattern in there based off that. After the close today, keep an eye on FedEx. FedEx is going to be very watched in terms of any guidance they're giving from shipments. So keep an eye on that. And then tomorrow morning, General Mills, and then tomorrow afternoon, Micron. So let's see. Just watching from the sidelines, amazing how the market can play with one's mind. That is a very true statement. All right. So we have the grinding higher pattern. Yes, we do have a little mini double top going into the open. Again, may never trigger, but it is something worth watching. Something worth watching. Close below 47.87.75 could be a pullback to the other side of the 4-hour rotation zone. That would just be a very minor pullback, but that would mean your key support is coming in about this 47.88 to 47.90 on any pullback into the open. That's going to be the key support level. Nothing's really changed. All-time highs just above this 4,800, so it's within shooting distance of that, so it might just take that out this morning. And then 48.23 is roughly the next harmonic level higher. So that's where that sits right now. Remember, daily cycles at the top and trying to roll over, but so far no correction, not even a pullback. This is just grinding higher, and weekly cycles pinned to the top. Going into week 8 of the massive rally from the end of October. So looking for that S&P to at least eke out slightly new highs. It's got to suck even more people in, but just keep an eye if it does, if that little support and we get that double triggered. I mean, you could see that pull back to maybe 47.73 area at worst case. And then below that, by the way, the major support is about 47.58 at this point. So you saw Mommy kissing Santa. Was it a good morning kiss or something else going on there, Richard? Hey, George. I think in all-time highs and everything. Well, not all-time highs in the dollar right now, but all-time highs, and not all-time highs in the Russell yet. But I'm thinking Dow's already made highs, Nasdaq's already made highs, S&P is the one lagging, and I'm expecting that to make highs either today or tomorrow. So Nasdaq, keep an eye on this little interesting. What happened to it? Oh, I might have done it on the Qs. We got a little wedging pattern coming in here. A little wedging pattern. Keep an eye on this, and there's a little mini double. So if it breaks above this 16,990 area, 1729, then 1760 are the next key areas. But keep an eye on this. In case this does break, this is waning momentum going into a wedge pattern. Now, is that a major top? No. Worst case, if that were to trigger, the pullback area would roughly be somewhere along this copied top of the wedge line. So it would actually need to close in also into the rotation zone. But worst case, I mean, even if it collapsed, I mean, you're still back to 16,750 to 16,800 worst case. So that's the only minor bearish pattern in that, along with a very minor double top potential. If the double triggers, it could break the wedging pattern. But really watch for that wedging pattern. It needs to be with a 4-hour close. So you could even have this double come down and bounce back. But those are the only bearish signs, and they're both minor. If you take a look at this, even that wedge would only take it back to what? Not even last Thursday's lows and the rising rotation zone. Again, worst case, even the rotation zone is 16.7. Bear patterns continue to underperform. Yeah, when you got everything going in here, that's why we're also against the rotation zones. Just pointing out what the market's showing us. Other than that, 17,174 and then 17,552 if it just keeps marching on. If something comes out of nowhere to shock this market, though, we could see some interesting price action. There's a lot of complacency, and something's just It's little too much. So we don't really have a wedge pattern. We have that ascending triangle now, triple top. Triple top, next key area is 37.8. And then not much. I mean, we're not even getting areas where we can really get a decent pause, but this is another waning momentum. So, not saying it has to roll over, just pay a close attention. Play close attention coming into the end of the week. 37.5 is the key support on that. Russell has invalidated the Friday trigger. Remember, on quad witching, you get some really weird pattern things, but I'm just seeing if it has invalidated the double. Not yet. Still needs to close above 2028 or trade through 2033.8 on an intraday basis. So I'd be using those targets for the upside. The VIX still nothing. Support, as I'm watching, 1235 is the key support level. Yesterday's low was 1240. Hey, Coco, glad to see you. When's the Russell going to make a new high, Coco? The DAX still has a potential double top in it. Again, remember, against the daily rotation zones, but still needs to close below 16,672. Other than that, the next, since it's virtually came off that harmonic, the next major area, if it were to break out, come on, the next major area would be 17,380. But there's not much to do. The minor areas on the DAX coming in roughly about 17,180. The notes, absolutely no decent setups right now, just a sideways channel. So I'm just watching if it breaks below about now 112.07. So far, a sideways correction off of the major rally last week with cycles rolling over, but it's got to get below 112.07 on at least a 4-hour closing basis. The yield, nothing but that same sideways correction you see right here. The yield needs to get a close above about 3.96 before anything bullish. If it does break towards new lows, 3.83 and 3.78, the yield curve still trying to break down again, but I'm still watching this minus 49 on a closing basis. The dollar index, going to see if we get a pullback and more, make a stronger bottoming pattern in here. Otherwise, the next level, major level of support is 101.06. I'm going to be watching to see if this pulls back below 101.59 to put it in potential double bottom territory. I haven't seen Waka Waka in forever. We'll get to natty gas. Crude, we're still on the trailing percent B buy. Other than that, not much. It has not been able to get much of a pullback at all right now. The next key area to continue, it's still got to close above 75.14. Spiking up between the 50 and the 62.5. Coming back down. Now, I will be keeping an eye just on crude to see if it rotates back up and makes a double top in this area between the 50 and the 62.5 and around the 74.50. And then if we get that close below 72.16, I'll watch for a bigger pullback. Other than that, it's still in trailing mode from a percent B. By the way, I'm thinking Friday, late morning Chicago time for a little percent B webinar, where I'll be giving away some pretty much everything you need to test it out and develop your own percent B system. Natty gas. You asked on natty gas 4-hour. Let me just go back to that daily right now. I'd just be watching for coming off of this into the rotation zone with a short-term topping pattern yesterday and daily cycles at the high. I would be watching for some of these key retracement pullbacks, entering the 50 to 62.5. So your next key level is about 237, and then if it dips below 232.6, it's in double bottom territory. That's what I'd be watching, and that would be a double bottom in a very key support area. So that's what I'm watching. Hey, Christoph, how are you doing this morning? Gold, not much. Not much. No, not any major follow through from the percent B buy last week, but still just holding up. So not much to talk about in gold. Not much to talk about in a bunch of these markets. The yen, that's the yield dropping. There's the yen still, yeah, and this is technically a double bottom. Don't know if it'll have a trigger. But a little rally up, trying to carve out more of a bottoming position in here, but nothing's triggered yet. By the way, yesterday was a percent B buy on the close. So little follow through so far today, but the targets, it already entered the rotation zone, hit roughly that 37.5 area. So roughly, if it does continue, the next minor target is 145.73, 146.43. Those are the next two targets. Euro, it still is. This is not invalidated yet. This is still just part of a right-hand top. But if we do break above this 110 area, still 110.68. Pound, really nothing. Just unless it closes back below the rotation zone, coming in about 125.90. That's key. Is this a minor double? On the 4-hour, you had the real small double, which now makes up the larger right-hand side or left-hand side. This is not in double territory yet, and I don't know if it will invalidate itself. If it does, it might still work. But then it would need to get above this 127.53 and then close back below 126.28. Other than that, not much going on in the pound. The spiders, we do have, even with the gap up today, do have a potential double. On any rollover play, though, the first thing would be 471.97 to the gap fill of yesterday. The levels higher, 476.28 and 478.83. The only thing that could put a damper in the short term on the move is a close below the low of 467.43. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. This will probably be invalidated before it does, but that's the only bearish sign on it so far. So remember, in the spiders all-time highs 479.98. The Qs, we got that same wedging pattern. See it right here. So that's the only thing that there's no little double top yet. There might be one forming on the open. Just pay attention to those futures. But that's the only bearish, potentially bearish thing on the Qs. Qs gapping up today. 407.08 would be for the gap fill, which wouldn't even trigger the wedge. So that's the only thing I'd be watching on there. Otherwise, 409.26. About 408.90, then 409.26, then major 411.41 to 412.21. Bitcoin, so far just a sideways consolidation. Tesla, still no close above the 62.5. Still, the longer-term double is not invalid yet. It needs a close below 264.17. So nothing else to talk about there. NVIDIA, my next target after the close above the 62.5 I covered was at 498.29, spiking through there up to 500 yesterday, putting it into potential double top territory. That's the only bearish potential thing that could take it back to the 200, but it's a long way off from even confirming. If it breaks above 505.17, the next target is 519.28. So that's where it sits now. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else. Let's see if, hey, Legion Reaver. What else? I don't see any other things going on. What else? FedEx with the earnings. FedEx with the earnings, I mean, ramping up to new highs, new recent highs in FedEx, not all-time highs. But sitting here against, we're going to see, we're against a very key harmonic area and very overextended price to perfection going into earnings. But your support level would be back. First support level about 276.50 and then 273.90. And then 260, 270. The next key area, if it breaks out with earnings, is the the 297.65 to the 87.5. So keep an eye at that. Would be the upside target on any breakout. So with that, don't have much more to cover today. Hope everyone has a wonderful, slower Christmas week. It'll pick up towards the end, though. Just keep an eye on a couple of these potential reversal patterns. Remember, they are against the rotation zone, so they are the lower probability. But just even on the daily, look how extended it is from the daily rotation zone. So keep that in mind, and I will talk to everyone tomorrow. Bye for now.